Sure.
Yep, I'm ready.
Welcome, everybody, to the 105th Grey Cup preview show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Of course, we are brought to you by MyBookie.ag. I'm your host for the Grey Cup Pick'em Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I want to welcome in my co-host. First up, Oz Davis.
Hi.
Wow, that was interesting.
Wow.
That was interesting.
Wow.
That was not me.
Yes, it was, Oz. It was you. That's your normal voice.
Yeah. I think Mike's got a new toy is what I think.
I don't
In any
think
case,
so.
I just want to say to the audience out there, hi!
Wow.
And, looking forward to the Grey Cup.
Was that your daughter, Oz?
Dude, I swear to God, I don't know what that was.
That was actually my grandson. So.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right, and of course, we would like to introduce Brian Schmidt's grandson to the show, but he's already said hi.
Yeah.
And of course,
he's already said hi.
And of course, Brian Schmidt. How you doing tonight, Schmitty?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Got the 5-year-old grandson with me, so
and of
having
course,
a good weekend.
A man that's no stranger to Grey Cups. He won 4 in his career in the CFL. One of the greatest running backs in CFL history. Help me welcome to the show, Robert Drummond.
Thanks. I mean, but I played in 5. It should be 5. But hey,
no,
DCB, this is my first year in '94. But hey, you know,
I said you won 4. I did I say you played in 4?
No, I said it won 4.
I know I won 4, but I mean, but I'm not. I mean, I'm not a perfectionist. But I wish it'd been 5.
Well, we'll start off with Oz, who wishes he'd at least went and watched a Grey Cup in person once.
Yeah.
Oz,
someday.
What's your initial take on this 105th Grey Cup between Toronto and Calgary?
Wow. My initial take? Okay, well, there's going to be a lot of, I think, on this show. I think this game is closer than a lot of people think it's going to be. I'm one of those a lot of people. Okay, I am not looking for a close game here. I'm looking for a close first half. Really great stories for both teams, I think. Of course, nobody expected Toronto to be here. I think they were maybe the 8th favorite at the bookmaker at the start of the season to be in this thing or to win this thing. And, of course, Calgary is all about the shot at redemption after losing the last Grey Cup in such heartbreaking fashion.
All right. Robert, your initial thoughts?
Ooh, I kind of got to agree. I mean, Calgary's been the top dog, the entire year, and Toronto's been, a jab puncher. They've been good for a few weeks, bad for a few weeks, good for a few weeks. Injuries happen, bad for a few weeks. So it's on paper, this game should be, a 2-3 point touchdown game, but I think Toronto's going to surprise. But it's whenever I even played against Calgary, they were always tough teams. But it's like it's going to be interesting to see. Ricky Ray has always been one of my favorite quarterbacks. And I feel somehow, some way, he's just going to show up and make this a more exciting game than people think.
Right. So there, Oz. Brian.
Okay.
Yeah. As I've been saying, I think it's going to be a race 35. I think for Toronto to win this game, they've got to get 35 points, and I think they can do that when you've got Wilder and Ricky Ray. I think they've got the weapons to do it. I think the key is going to be what Toronto team shows up. Toronto has been up and down. They can look real good one week, not so good the next. So what team shows up is going to be real key to Toronto's chances and how good this game could really be.
All right, so when we look at the previous 2 matchups this year, they were blowouts. Calgary outscored the Argos 64-31, rolled up 1,815 yards, caused a lot of problems on kick returns. The Stamps defenders held the great Ricky Ray well under 300 yards, passing both times, 139 in Week 7. But I think the one hope here, Robert, has to be that since they were 4-7, they get James Wilder Jr. in the game, in the lineup, Since then, they've been 6-2, and James Wilder can make a huge difference in this game.
Like we were talking about earlier, the more I watch him, the more he reminds me so much as a runner. You know, just a downhill runner who runs with power, has great vision. You know, and just makes things happen. He may not be the receiver that I was. You know, I may not have the speed that I had. You know, but he's still an effective running back, and he's dominant, and he's good at what he does. You know, so he can make a huge difference in this game. You know, the ground game, you know, in games played in November in the Canadian Football League are huge. You know, they're enormous. So it's going to be an interesting game. You know, it's going to be Mr. Wilder against that Calgary defense. You know, and if he can, he doesn't even have to dominate him. He just has to be effective, and Toronto can make this a game close enough to where they can win.
Yeah, and Oz, I know you're a skeptic here. So with no James Wilder those first two games, you don't really think it makes that big of a difference, since you still think it's a mismatch, or what are your thoughts there?
Well, okay, here's the thing. All right, let's do the numbers for how dominant Wilder is, as Mr. Drummond just started talking about. Okay, so basically, I believe he was just named most outstanding rookie in the CFL this year. And that's based on 1/3 of the season. Okay, in those 8 games, the Argonauts are 5-3, and he averaged 171 total yards a game. Okay, pretty impressive. Unfortunately, last week, not so good. Aside from his long run of 17 yards, he only averaged about 2.5 yards per carry. That's below Trent Richardson's average in this league. He did have a nice catch in the fourth quarter, but basically silent in that second half. So I was a bit concerned with Wilder in this game. But yeah, of course he's going to be the X factor for the Argos. He is something that the Stamps don't have. Messam is great, but Messam is, compared to this dude, one-dimensional, in my opinion.
I agree.
So I mean, again, I've been saying this since he started taking off. This guy is the X factor in these playoffs. He is the X factor in this game, but is it enough, is my question. I mean, he doesn't even average a touchdown a game, even in his hot streak. So, you know, is this production enough for the Argos?
All right, now, the one thing Calgary does have going for it is it's got its defensive line entirely healthy for the first time in a while. Brian, what's your take here? I mean, I would think the two biggest keys here, or the biggest key, is Toronto's offensive line against Calgary's defensive line.
Absolutely, because, again, Wilder's a great back, but really hard to do a whole lot if you don't got that guys up front getting something done, and that's going to be a key, and also that's going to keep Ricky Ray upright, not getting him sacked. That's key. So, the key is within the game. Obviously we talk about Ray, we talk about Wilder, but this offensive line versus defensive line is going to be a huge factor, and one that if Toronto does win this game, it'll be interesting to really look at how their offensive line played against Calgary's defensive line, because my guess is Toronto wins this game, the offensive line would have had to play phenomenal.
Yeah, and my question here, Robert, is this. I think most football games come down to the trenches in the line, and I think that the defensive line for Toronto has to get pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell, or this game's going to be over quick.
I agree. I mean, you're only as good. I mean, and I used to always say that as a player. I would always give accolades to my offensive line, because without our offensive line as a running back, you can do nothing. Without our offensive line as a quarterback, you can't throw passes. You look at Kirk Cousins for the last game. He finally had a productive game. It's like, holy smokes! But their offensive line keeps those, in the CFL, 12 hungry guys from breathing down your throat and punishing you. So the game flows and the game goes with the offensive line. So if Toronto's offensive line can keep that Calgary front seven off of them, they can make a game of it. If they can open the holes for Wilder, they can make a game of it. As we talked about earlier, I played in 5 breakup games myself, And every game, I mean, like my first 2 games with Baltimore when I was a fullback, and I was a blocking back, and I was a part of the offensive line, so I was able to open up holes for Pringle to allow him to be able to run, so it made it easy. And every game after that, then with pinball, then I was the main back, but the offensive line did a great job. Pierre Versaball, I mean, I can go down, down the list. Those guys make the game a lot easier for the players who are the star players. They don't get the credit that they need to get, because without those guys, it would be a game of just tit for tat. You just going back and forth. When a good offensive line or a good defensive line goes out there and dominates, it makes the game that much easier.
Yeah, and Brian, the thing that I think makes this difficult to pick Toronto is this: if they pressure Mitchell, I think that opens up the ability to run the ball easier for Jerome Messam also.
Yeah, and Calgary's really done that all year. If you pressure him, they're gonna get Messam involved. They've done a great job of always being able to play one step ahead of the defense for the most part. Even though you look at times offensively and you look at their points per game, and at times some games they didn't score a lot of points, but if you watch the games, they've always for the most part controlled the game offensively. Through most of the games this year where they've just had that control. They always play off what the defense is doing, and Messam has been a huge key with that. He's such a great downhill runner. Yes, he is one-dimensional, but I mean, it's still not a bad guy to put the ball in his hands. And by doing that, he has some success, and that opens up the passing game for Mitchell.
Yeah, and if you
Can I just get in on this real quick?
Sure.
Because I got the stat on this. When Jerome Messam runs for 65 yards or more this season, the Stampeders are 7-0-1. In other words, get him going, they win.
Yeah, and we talked earlier today, Oz, when you look at this offensive line of Calgary against Toronto, I know that I've talked about how good their defensive line is, but they didn't get much pressure those first 2 games, and that's not because James Wilder wasn't there.
Right. Well, thanks for giving me this one, Mike, because that's really, I mean, even if you imagine almost everything going right for Toronto, and there is further reason to think that Wilder can have a big game that I'll talk about in a minute. But that offensive line for Calgary is basically the same in week 7 and 10 as it was now. The defensive pass rush for the Argonauts was basically the same in week 7 and 10 as it is now. Now, I will give you that they've got, I believe, 3 rookies starting in that front 8 for Toronto. So you can argue that maybe they've developed a little bit more as the season's gone on. But the truth is that offensive line, which is a historically great offensive line, by the way, again this season, can hold them off then. I think they can hold them off in this game as well.
All right. Another interesting thing that I did not know is Ricky Ray and Bo Levi Mitchell have started against one another 5 times in the regular season. In all 5 matchups, Bo Levi Mitchell won, Oz.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, when you talk about winning, Bo Levi Mitchell's name comes up a lot in the CFL. I mean, the one thing they keep saying online on the TV.
We there? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hey,
What's happened?
did you drop off?
Yeah, my call just dropped off.
Oh, man. All right, hold on a second. I got to see if I get the other 2 online.
Are you done with your soup, Jaden? Are you done with your soup?
Yeah, we're still here. right, you there?
I'm here.
It's just you, though. Oh, okay, hold on here.
Yeah.
See if I can re-add these guys. You there, Oz? You there, Oz?
I'm back.
We're going to edit the middle of this. We had something go wrong, Aaron. Now I got to try to get Brian back in.
Okay. Yeah, that was weird because we were talking to each other. We couldn't hear you guys, but we were talking to each other. Technology is great.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, this is one of my philosophies of life. Whenever they advertise a technology as making your life more convenient, it makes your life more inconvenient. You know, cell phones, cars, you know.
When they work, they're great.
Internet. Yeah.
You there, Brian?
When they work, you're great.
I'm here now.
All right. If you're listening, of course, we just had a little malfunction. Technically, I'm sure it was Oz Davis's fault. We will take it.
Even Skype gets sick of hearing me talk.
We'll take a 1 minute, 9 second commercial break, and we'll be right back after this minute.
Hey, Puckheads, this is Patrick.
And Jason.
From the Puck Guys podcast at the Grueling Truth Network, and we're here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money.
The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why the Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag.
In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on your first deposit of up to $3,000 in extra cash. Just enter the promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Where do they got to go, Jay?
That is a smart-looking question, Pat. They need to go to visitmybookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy your winning today.
MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back on the CFL Weekly Pick'em Show. We're at Grey Cup Week. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, sitting here with Robert Drummond, who won 4 Grey Cups, played in 5. Brian Schmidt, who didn't win any, didn't play in any. And Oz Davis, who didn't win any and didn't play in any. All right. I would say here, the other thing that stood out to me is we talked about Jerome Mesham being just one-dimensional, Robert, but he gained 138 yards in the 2 games against Toronto, and I just don't see how they're going to stop him. And I think the key to this whole thing on the defensive line for Toronto is Sean Lemon, who had 3 sacks against Saskatchewan.
I mean, I agree. I mean, the one thing about Grey Cups that I found out, and trust me, I've played it enough to understand the dynamics of what it takes to win a Grey Cup is it's controlling the clock, controlling the line of scrimmage, and you can control the line of scrimmage when you have an effective line game. You know, and if you get your running game up and running, you know, Messing can be very effective. He's been very effective against Toronto in the past. So if they can get him going and they can get him doing the things that he did in the past against the Argonauts, it could be a long day for Toronto. You know, if Messam gets rolling, you know, just as if Wilder gets rolling, it could be a long day for either team that can't stop the other team's running back, because that controls the game, that controls the tempo.
Yeah, and if you look at it, Brian, I mean, the thing that could really be the wild card here, that is in a lot of games that people don't even think about going into the game, is special teams play.
Oh, absolutely. Special teams will win you championships and will lose you championships. And I think that's going to be a real key. And we've seen it, and we've seen it every year. How many games is a missed field goal, a blocked punt, punt return, kick return? How many times is that the difference? And we've seen it in the Grey Cup many times. So it's certainly going to be a huge factor.
All right.
I mean, can I make a point?
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
I look at it, like you said. I mean, I played in 5 Grey Cups, and I look at all the Grey Cups I played in. You know, from Chris Wright, you know, in '95, returning a punt for a touchdown to open the game up. You know, to Adrian Smith, you know, returning a kickoff return for a touchdown. You know, to Jimmy the Jet Cunningham, you know, in '97, returning a punt. Special teams is a huge part of the game, especially this late in the season. You know, where you understand offense and defense. You know, so the X factor is special teams. So, special teams can play a huge role in Grey Cup games, especially the last game of the season.
Well, another thing that can play a huge part in Grey Cup games, Oz, is the weather. Any idea what the weather forecast is for Ottawa?
Yeah. Oh, thank you again for the feed. I was just looking at this. I've been obsessively checking this thing. Okay, so right now, no, I have. No,
I believe you. That's why I laughed.
Because it changes. And, of course, as Robert will tell you and many other CFL fans will tell you, the weather plays a huge part. Okay, so they are forecasting this. It's going to be ugly. 60% chance of snow showers at night. Okay, it's going to be below freezing. So around 25 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I'm a bit rusty on that. And also a 12-mile-per-hour wind. So I'll tell you what, if Schmidt's contention is correct, and this is a race to 35, it's not going to get done. I think the under 53.5 is pretty good here. This is going to be a slow track.
Yeah, the weather is going to change, especially if that's the weather, especially with the wind. That could change things drastically.
Do you have the wind for us, Oz?
Yeah, it's 12 miles per hour.
All right, so 25 Fahrenheit, if my Indiana State education means anything, I think it's like minus 3 or 4 below zero.
Celsius, yeah.
But 25 Fahrenheit's kind of nice, I think. It was only 39 where I lived yesterday. I mean, it could be a lot worse.
It was minus 38 in that 1996, 97, when we played against Saskatchewan and Edmonton.
Yeah, wasn't that a snow game?
It wasn't snowing, but it was. I mean, like the week before they tore the field up, so it was absolutely freezing. So it was very, very cold. You know, in 1996 was a snow game when we played Edmonton in Hamilton.
One. Yeah. All right, let me ask you this, Robert. Since Oz has never played in a snow game, does it change the way a player goes about playing in the game?
No. Certain players are designed, you know, for certain weather type situations. You know what? Me personally, as a running back, and I like to speak for myself, I have very, very wide feet. You know, I have very, very good balance. So the game didn't really change me. You know, it just. I mean, Danny Webb, our equipment manager, did a great job of giving us certain cleats, you know, they had rubber molded bottoms, you know, that allowed us not to slip. So we weren't slipping all over the place. You know, it just makes it more of an interesting game because that's what football is really about. Football is about the elements, having an impact on the game and changing the game to where you have to adapt. If you can't adapt as a football player, you'll never be a great football player. You have to learn how to adapt.
Well, unless you wait about 10 more years when every game will probably be played in a dome, Robert.
Probably, yeah, I agree. You know, that's sad. You know, outside weather changes the game. You know, is a part of the game.
Yeah, I miss mud and grass, Robert.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah. I know Oz loves grass, don't you, Oz?
Well done. I was not ready for that. And thank God you didn't ask me how much I like snow.
Well, I thought that was in your younger days, though.
Yeah.
How did snow affect your performance, Oz?
No. I never affected my performance. No, I was never a big blow monkey myself, and especially not now. I'm too old for that nonsense. So, but yeah, good points by Robert. I like this dimension of the club playing a part, of the franchise, of the equipment guys playing a part in the game. Because I think that, you know, all this talk about the weather affecting football, I think that goes doubly so in Canada. because it's kind of expected that it's going to be freaking cold in November in most cities outside of Vancouver. But, you have to plan for that extreme cold, for that. I'm sure, Robert, when you played in that minus 35 or whatever, that ground was like tarmac, no?
Oh, it was concrete. It was unbelievable. It was hardest. I mean, a lot of players got hurt just from falling to the turf on their elbows or on their backs or on their knees. They got hurt. They got injured.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking for the weather to play a big part in this. Grass, snow, whatever.
All right. So when we look at this, the thing that really stands out to me this year, especially with Toronto, Brian, is the job that Mark Trestman has done in Toronto.
What a great job, and really, I think has continued to cement what he is as a Canadian football coach. I know, his NFL run was not the greatest, but if you look at what he did at Montreal and now what he's done at Toronto, I mean, this guy can coach CFL football very well, and he's proving with this, coming to Toronto and immediately turning things around. He's proving just how great of a coach he is.
Yeah, and Robert, you played for some great coaches. Why do you think Mark Trestman maybe failed in the NFL? I would think it's probably just because he was with the Bears and didn't have a lot of talent. But I would think that a guy that is a great coach in the CFL would be a good coach in the NFL.
It's a different dynamics between the NFL and the CFL. The CFL is more relaxed, more laid back, more wide open, where the NFL is more high pressure, more win now or everything's over. So it's I think Trestman's he's a player's coach. And when a player can relate to his coach, they go out there and just have fun. Say a la Don Matthews. Don Matthews was such a player's coach where Don Matthews would always tell you, he's like, gentlemen, you're grown men. I'll treat you like men, and if you act like men, and we understood what he meant. It's like, he allowed, if you went out the night before the game, he would always say, if you go out the night before the game, you better come back and give me, a 4 or 5 touchdown game or give me a 4 or 5 sack game, and guys understood that, so it was a respect thing. And I think that's what players who play for Trestman, get it. It's a respect thing where they respect him enough to where he treats them like men, so they'll act like men, and they'll bring their A game every single day.
All right, Robert. My next question is this. You played in 5 Grey Cups, won 4. For fans out there that'll never know what this is like, what's the day before the game, the night before the game like for you? Is it hard to sleep? I mean, what do you go through as a player before one of the biggest games of your life?
I mean, me personally, I can't speak for any of my other teammates. All I can speak for me, but it's just football. It's nothing different. Yes, it's the biggest stage, in Canadian football, realm of football for that year. But for me, it's just another game. For me, I always just base everything based off my talent. I just went out there and said, Robert, just and I talk to myself in the third person only for the simple fact that I just try and rationalize it. Just go out there and do what you do. You're 6'4", you're 225 pounds, you're this fast, you did. What you've done all year just culminates towards right now. Just go out and do the same thing. So I didn't try and overemphasize it. I didn't try and make it more stressful than it had to be. All I had to do was just go out there and just be myself and play the game. I allowed my opponents and my teammates around me to be able to allow me to be able to go out there and do what we've been doing all year. All these guys have to do is just go out there and do what they've been doing all year, and they'll be fine. Don't stress yourself out. When you stress yourself out, you lose. You get caught up in the mindset of, oh my God, it's a Grey Cup, it's the biggest stage of the year, the whole country's watching us. Blah, blah. If you get to that point, you'll lose. Don't get to that point.
All right, Oz. Any other words of wisdom here? Questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to get in.
I knew there would be.
Actually, I wanted to get in one comment, and I do have a question for Robert as well. But my comment is this. One thing you should remember, too, about Trestman is, remember, he came up as quarterbacks coach, right? And in the CFL, there are certain freedoms that you are given quarterbacks. You have the wider field. You're passing a lot more often. because of the 2 and out. And I don't think it's any coincidence that Tressman won back-to-back Coach of the Year awards. He won back-to-back Grey Cups for the Alouettes, and Anthony Calvillo won back-to-back MOP awards under his tutelage. I think that's got a lot to do with his success in the CFL, especially as compared to the NFL. But the question I had for Robert is this. I've heard some guys who talk about having been in the championship of their sport, especially in football. And they talk about how, yeah, they remember the ones that they win, but they remember the ones that they lose more, and they think about that more. Do you?
No, I lost my first CFL championship in 1984 against the BC Lions in BC, and at the time I was with I was with 2 Hall of Famers in the backfield, and Mike Pringle and Tracy Ham. We just didn't get it done. And at that point, I really didn't know that much about the CFL. I was, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I was ignorant to the game. I just wanted to play the game of football. But, at that point, I learned what it was like to play the CFL game and how much fun it was and how exciting it was and how much tradition, and pageantry it was, And at that point, I told myself, I didn't want to lose anymore. But that first game, yeah, does it bother me to this day? Yeah, because I could have 5 instead of 4. But you know what? Things happen for a reason, And at that point, it drove me to be able to go out there and accomplish the things that I accomplished, the following years where I went there. Man, I played in 4 Grey Cups in a row, which is, that's
pretty
crazy.
Awesome.
Yeah, which means you won 3 in a row.
Yeah, and I won 3. I won 3 in a row. Which is on different teams, which is a testament to where, Don Matthews used to always call me a Grey Cup charm, and I used to always laugh at that. And he was like, Robert, you should always go out there and you approach things like you approach your job. You approach it professionally, and that's what I always did. Just go out there, just be relaxed, and just do what you're good at. If you're good at something, just be able to just go out there and be good at it. These guys tomorrow don't have to be special. They just have to do the same thing they've done all year long. That's all they have to do. When you put more stress on yourself, because when you start saying to yourself, oh my God, it's a Grey Cup, the entire country is watching us, you're gonna get yourself into trouble. And that was our big advantage when I played in Toronto. With the likes of a Doug Flutie, and a Paul Mazzotti, and a Mike Pinball Clemens, and a Mookie Mitchell, and myself, a Robert. These teams look at us like, holy smokes, we're facing the most explosive offense in the CFL for the last 3, 4, 5 years. But that was their problem. That's when we had the game won. Just play your game. You're just as talented as us. We've had a good year, but just go out there and do what you need to do. And they didn't. That's what these guys have to understand tonight as they sleep, getting ready to play in the biggest game of their life. Just relax and do what you've been doing all year, and you'll be fine.
All right, guys. I think we're wrapping this show up. Now, I want to remind, and we'll get our picks here in a second, but I want to remind everybody that 15 to 20 minutes after the Grey Cup ends tomorrow night, you can come back to thegruelingtruth.net or to Spreaker and hear our live post-game show where we will all be back to talk about the game. So let's do this. Oz, who you picking? What's the score?
Okay, so I'll definitely take the Stamps to cover that 7 points that the point spread says. And I'm liking that under. So I'll say a final score of about 28 to 10. 28 to 10. Stamps.
All right. Brian.
I'm gonna go 31-21 Calgary.
All right, Robert.
Ooh, I'm gonna go 31-14 Calgary. I just think Calgary is just too strong.
All right. I've been trying to talk myself into picking Toronto all day, and when I get on the show and I start breaking it down, it's kind of like last week when I said I picked Saskatchewan, but I said when I broke it down, it looked like Toronto was the better team. I went with Saskatchewan anyways, and I was miserably wrong. When I look at this game, I think Jerome Messam makes the difference in this game. I think the Calgary offensive line makes the difference in this game. I think Calgary wins 27-16. So I'm going to go with Calgary. So it's a clean sweep of Calgary. Brian, any final words?
I hope that it really is an entertaining game. The one thing the Grey Cup has generally always given is an entertaining game, unlike so many of the Super Bowls that we've seen over the years. So I really hope that this is an entertaining game, and I really feel like it can be. Toronto just needs to bring their game, do the things that they've done, but I really think it can be entertaining. I say 31-21. I think it'll be a close game going the second half. I think Calgary will start pulling away in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. Oz, final words?
Yeah, that's my feeling. You got to remember that Calgary outscored the next closest team in the CFL in the fourth quarter by a wide margin, by at least what was it? It was about 100 points, so about 5 points a game more in the fourth quarter than the next nearest team. So they're a big fourth quarter scoring team, big second half scoring team. Might be close after the first half, but what I'd like to say is Americans. The NFL games pretty much suck this week. The only good game is Saints-Rams, and I'll tell you right now, the Saints are going to kill them.
No, they're not. So the Rams will win the game.
Watch the Grey Cup.
Hey, anybody that listens to the NFL Pick'em show knows that Oz Davis should never say an NFL pick with that much certainty.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I 100% agree with Mike there. Don't listen to me. But do check out the Grey Cup this week. I wish I could have recommended it to you last week, but ESPN only showed it on ESPN News. I believe it's on ESPN 2 this week.
All right, and I want to remind everybody they can go to mybookie.ag to bet on the game. Robert, final words?
The greatest time of these young men's lives are right now with the butterflies in their stomach, wondering about the biggest game in a country they can possibly play. Having done it 5 times before, it's just go out there and just have fun. Just relax and just do what you dreamed of doing as a young child. Being able to go out there and play the game of football, and just winning a championship. If you win, great. If you lose, learn from what you did. In the next year. Correct it and do better. That's what I did. I lost my first Grey Cup, then I went on to win 4. So you can always correct your mistakes, but just go out there and just have fun and just, there's no right or wrong. In every Grey Cup I've ever played, I just try to do my best. Just go out there and do your best, and that's acceptable. Don't care about what the fans say. Don't care about what the media say. Just accept it within yourself and just go out there and just do the best you possibly can. Do the best you possibly can, and you lose, learn from it. If you go out there and you do the best you possibly can and you win, great. You got a ring in your finger. I have 4 of them.
All right, guys. Oz has a wedding ring, right, Oz?
A wedding ring?
A wedding ring? Don't you have a wedding ring?
Yes, sir.
Have you just had one?
Yes. Just had one wedding ring?
Yeah.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Oh, okay. Sounds like Oz is a multiple champion. All right, guys. Make sure you check us out tomorrow night after the Grey Cup. We'll be live on thegruelingtruth.net, also on Spreaker. Also, you can hear the show live if you go to iHeart and download our iTunes app. That's about it for tonight, guys. So make sure you enjoy the 105th Grey Cup tomorrow. Come back, catch me, Schmitty, Robert, and Oz after the game for our thoughts. And hopefully we're all wrong and Toronto wins because I like upsets. Plus, hopefully it snows because I like snow too, as long as it's not in my yard. All right, guys. I will, for Robert Drummond, Oz Davis, Brian Schmidt, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.